Hi again, you're back. I missed you. So this is going to be the second video in our series, and you can't really see, I'm sure, but I wrote on the top UCC or common law. So once you've established that there's a contract, you still have to establish what law governs, and I think that's something that a lot of people just skip because they're like, oh, we're in sales class, we're going to apply the UCC too. Of course, obviously, however, even though that is true, you still have to say why you know that. Remember, it's like math. Show us why you know this is the answer. Show your work. So in the spirit of showing your work, we're going to determine what law applies. And so unfortunately, what can get confusing, I think specifically with essays, is you have obviously Article 2, which governs sales, but then you also have what's known as Article 9, which governs secured transactions. And then you're looking at whether it is those two or common law. So a lot of times the thought is it UCC or is it common law? But technically you have to go a little bit further and determine why it's not Article 9 and why it is Article 2, because there's a lot of facts that sometimes might actually play towards the fact that it might be a secure transaction, but ultimately it's not. And you kind of have to say why it's not. And that will probably get you a lot more points because one, you can show that you know that there's a difference in law, and two, you know that there is a substantial reason why it is more likely to be UCC Article 2, and further, you can specifically explain that you understand the difference and can show what they are. So, firstly, UCC 2 or 9, or the common law. Now remember, common law usually governs most basic contract disputes and things of that nature. Now the UCC Article 2 was specifically created to govern the transaction of sales. Now what's kind of nuanced here is Article 9 also governs sales, but very specifically it governs the secured transaction of a sale. Don't freak out, I will explain. So let's just say that this marker is a house, okay? This is a house. And let's just say I am a mortgagor that sells mortgages for homes, and you want to purchase a house because you're doing good for yourself and you're doing great, and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go and buy a house. So congratulations, I'm so proud of you. So here is the house, and you want to buy this house for say $100,000, but you don't have any more than $10,000. So you put a deposit of $10,000, and you need to get a loan from me for $90,000 to buy this house. So what I'm going to do is I would say, sure, I'll give you the $90,000 to buy this house because I believe in you. So here's your house, but you owe me $90,000. So because you owe me money on this, I'm actually going to create what's known as a document or a, what's the word? Instrument, I apologize. I'm going to create an instrument, okay? And this instrument is just going to specifically discuss the terms of our agreement, the fact that you bought this house and you owe me $90,000. And what this instrument will actually do is it's actually going to attach to your house. And if you stop paying back the money you owe me on this house, this instrument will allow me to pretty much cut off your interest and sell your home and so that I can get my money back. And this whole spiel is the essence of what a secured transaction is. A secured transaction is a transaction that has a tendency to involve more money, more risk, and therefore I want to protect myself. And even though I obviously want to give you this money because I want you to buy this house and build a family because that's wonderful, I want to protect myself as well. So secured transaction is the ability to protect, I guess the best way to say it is creditors when people may or may not pay them back. It allows me to protect against insolvency. And so that's what a secure transaction is. And you're like, why did you say all that in sales? Well, now you understand the basic of Article 9. And so the basic of Article 9 is it's that extra paper that attaches to you and this property and allows me to take it away from you. Now, UCC Article 2 is the transaction of goods, the specific law regarding the transaction of goods. Now that is very broad, especially in comparison to Article 9, but the distinction is usually when there's some type of purchase of goods, there's not usually any type of instrument that attaches to those goods that allow me to take it back because most of the transactions that we're going to be working with are not considered secured transactions. Because they're not considered secured transactions backed by something else, it's going to just usually be governed by UCC Article 2. So the most basic way to understand which one applies is, first of all, you have to look at, okay, is there some type of instrument that is going to connect to this property? Is this person going to have access to this property and ownership of this property? These are kind of the bigger things, and is there a creditor involved? Now let's switch gears and just specifically focus on UCC Article 2, and then I'll connect it up after. So Article 2 specifically is going to govern a good. Now a good is something that's movable. It's what you call tangible. So a tangible item is like this marker. I can touch it. I have it in my hands. It's tangible. It's in real life. It's really right here in my hands. It's a tangible, movable object. I can move it. You know, it can, wow, look at how far that went. See, it moves. It goes far. It's movable. Great. Now, there is nuance, of course. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Now, it's movable, and any good that is sold can be governed by UCC 2 if it is movable at the time of sale, or can be identified at the time of sale. What does that mean? For example, if I sell timber, jack of all trades, got lots of businesses here. If I sell timber, you can identify which trees you want to have cut down at the time of sale. You can come to my timber yard and say, I want trees 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's identifiable at the time of sale. It may not have been separated from the main trunk of the tree or my property yet, but it's identifiable at the time of sale because you can see it, and it can, in essence, separate it out from the other trees. Now, in the spirit of separation, you can also still use UCC Article 2 to govern goods that are considered separable at the time of sale, or goods that can be separated from real property. Now, what I mean by that is, let's just say I have an empty lot of 30 acres, but under that, that ground level, I have 20 feet deep, a bunch of minerals like gold, and I sell you the rights to go and mine on my property. Even though this is technically real property, the material that you're taking out of my property can be separated from the real property. Since that item can be separated, it now becomes a good. So sometimes on fact patterns, it can be a little confusing because you're wondering, is this really a good? If it is something that you can separate from the physical property in any way, or you can identify it at the time of sale, it's going to be considered a good. Just think about it like this. If this product can become movable, then it's fine. Now, if you're struggling with the concept of movable, think of it like this. This thing that you buy, regardless of what it is, can it be put on a truck somehow? Can it be shipped somehow? Can it somehow be delivered to you? If the answer is yes, it's probably movable. If you can put it on 4 wheels and move it, it can be movable. Now, don't get crazy like, oh, what about, this? I have seen some crazy oversized loads on the road. If it's movable, it's movable, okay? Now, besides that, okay, you have 2 other things that UCC 2 typically does. Usually when you have a UCC Article 2 good, you have to remember when that good is purchased, title transfers. That's another way of understanding and recognizing if Article 2 applies, because physical title automatically is going to transfer when there is a sale. And Article 2 also governs not just current purchases, but they can govern future purchases as well. So anything you want to buy now or later, it would be a future purchase. So you're probably wondering, okay, are you going to connect it up? I am. I didn't forget. So I said title transfer transfers, right, at the time that you purchase that item under Article 2. Now the nuance with the Article 9 for secure transactions is you also would get a title when you purchase something like a home. However, it's not fully yours because there is, I guess what you could call an encumbrance, throwback to property. There's an encumbrance now because on your title it says that there is somebody that you owe money to. It shows that there's a creditor there. And a lot of times for big purchases, the creditor has a tendency to hold on to your title. So even though your name's on it, you don't actually physically have it. most of the time, the UCC Article 2, you have the title if there is one automatically. Now, so sorry to do this to you. There is nuance here because sometimes both apply. It's super fun, right? So a very easy example of when this would both apply is, let's say you go to Lowe's and you need a new microwave and you find one and that microwave is $1,000. You don't have the $1,000 up front, but you can put a deposit of $500 and you have to put a payment plan for the remaining $500 that you owe. All right, so they install the microwave. It's physically in your home, installed, and you have to pay a personal lender. Say you got a loan for $500 from a local credit union to pay the rest of this microwave. And you told them that this $500 loan was for this microwave, in essence creating what is known as a secure transaction. So I buy a microwave, I pay part of it, I get the rest on loan. What governs? They both do. Article 2 governs the portion of the sale of the microwave. So when you went to Lowe's, when you bought it, everything about the product itself that you had purchased is going to be governed only by Article 2. Now, the loan that you got, that personal loan, that portion is going to be all governed by Article 9 of secure transactions. So sometimes they both apply, but typically the sales professor's not going to be that mean, or potentially the bar, hopefully, won't be that mean. It'll typically be a little bit more straightforward. And if there isn't really much mention of any type of loan or anything like that, it still wouldn't hurt to say Article 2 applies here because this is a transaction regarding a good, which is a movable item at the time of sale where title transfers to the purchaser. Now, it is not governed by the basic common law because it is, as mentioned, regarding a tangible or severable good that the purchaser was able to move, ship to his home, whatever. Additionally, Article 9 of the UCC does not apply here because there is no indication, based on these facts, of any type of secured transaction or loan of any kind. Therefore, the law that's going to govern this instance is UCC Article 2. As long as you mention that it is UCC Article 2, you list the reasons why based on whether it's a good, and to be a good it must be movable at the time of sale or identifiable. It is something that is tangible or severable, and it governs the current or future purchases, and you get the title transfer upon purchase, which is why it's not the common law because of all these things. Additionally, it's not Article 9 because there is no mention of loans or any way in which the facts indicate that this transaction has been secured by any type of additional instrument. I'm sorry if that got too complicated towards the end, but that's what you need to do. If you were to say something like that, I'd be hard pressed to see why you wouldn't get full points for that. And so once you've determined that you do have a contract and you determine it is under Article 2 of the UCC because you're brilliant, then you're going to move on to the third step, which we're going to get to in a second.